about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're going to get.
For this conversation, I chat with M.Sayibu on the phone. He is a film writer, director, and producer located in L.A. So we get deep into the conversation of pitching a TV show, film, script, something you've already filmed. So there's a long section in this conversation where we really dive deep into the logistics of film production. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did, and keep on keeping on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back, and today with me is M.Sayibu on the phone. Thank you so much for taking this time to chat with me.
Very, very happy to be on the show, man. I'm really excited.
Thanks, dude. Thank you. I want to start with joining the military. You served in the military. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious about your travels that brought you around the world and how you ended up kind of serving in the military.
Oh, yeah. That actually has a tie to my family. My stepdad is, he's in the Army. He still is, actually. And at the time that I left Ghana to join them, they were in Germany at this point, and he actually still is stationed in Germany, believe it or not.
Oh,
it's
wow.
a long time now.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we kind of, I was kind of raised in that system, you know, the Army system, and on post to just kind of getting used to the mindset and the way things worked in the military way. So when it came to me moving out and coming to the States, I just felt, you know, it was a natural place for me to go. Plus, it also felt like it was something that I had to do inwardly, because I just felt like I needed to give back to a country that had given so much to me. So I joined the Air Force, actually.
Wow. Where did you serve in one particular spot, or were you traveling all over?
Well, I traveled, but I had one main base. When I joined, I first went through basic training at Lackland Air Force Base, and then it was just in Texas. And after that place, I was taken to Virginia, Fort Lee, an Army post, to do my something we called tech school, where you kind of go learn what job you're supposed to do, and when you actually join the force and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And then from there, you know, and then I went to Beale Air Force Base, California, which actually became my main base. So this is where I did most of my service. I was at Beale Air Force Base, and then I would be, you know, sent out every now and then for like a TDY once, I think, and I deployed once too.
Wow. So what led to you leaving Ghana, or what age did that happen at?
That actually was supposed to happen really early in the 2000s, but my dad felt like it would be a good idea for us to be in Ghana, and kind of, he wanted me to do like high school and all that kind of stuff in there. But his plan actually kind of fell through because he passed away in 2004. And so there was actually no prospect of me leaving the country anymore, you know, and he always knew that I wanted to be a writer and stuff like that. And he always felt like I'll be better off outside the country trying to pursue these kinds of things, because that's not something that you're going to get very successful in Ghana.
Okay.
You know, so when that was gone, it was just kind of like, you know, that was gone. But then my mom got married to my stepdad, and they moved to Germany. And when I got out of high school in 2008, they were like, hey, man, we want you to come over here and join us. And the original plan was actually for me to go to college over there and stuff like that. But, you know, other things happened, and I decided to do the military instead.
Wow. Now, does anything stand out in your mind from your travels around the world in terms of understanding other cultures and what you've learned kind of from seeing all different parts?
Yeah, actually, I was actually talking about that with someone recently. It's, for me, what it is giving me is perspective and the ability to empathize with several different kinds of points of view. Several different points of view because
Yeah.
when you've actually lived through a culture, and I always like to say that when you learn a language, it comes with the culture. So the more languages you learn, the more cultures you're able to appreciate. So basically, when you're able to do that, you get to understand things from a very, very different perspective. Like when you sometimes understand the way someone's language structure is set up, now you might understand how they say certain things in English, and you might not get offended anymore because you just understand culturally this is where that is coming from.
I see.
There's a lot of different things that I'm learning, or that I learned, throughout that, and for me, that's really what it is to be able to get along with almost anyone. I could be sitting with someone who hates everything I do, and I'll still be able to find a common ground where the two of us can meet.
Wow. Yeah, that's just so. I mean, I can only imagine how much that builds character as you literally travel across the world, especially in terms of like language, like what you just said. You're bringing up a really great point, because the way a phrase is said in English is different from the way it's said in German or Spanish or what have you.
Right.
And it carries a whole different meaning when you actually understand that communication there. Wow. So what did your parents teach you about work ethic?
My father, especially, my mom too, but I'll get to that. That one is a little different. But my father, for like just work, he always wanted to be a writer, right?
Okay.
I found out this very like late in his life. Like when he found out I was writing, he let me know that. And what he thought about work ethic was, despite that, when he wasn't able to do that, he still didn't let the fact that he was doing something he didn't completely love deter him from making sure that he always did his best at it. So basically, what he always felt was, regardless of what it is, so long as you're responsible for it, you have to do your best at it. If you are responsible for it, if your name is on it, you have to do everything you can to make sure that it comes out the way it should, or exceed the way it should.
Yeah.
My mom, she taught me basically perseverance. There was a very hard time after she and my dad had broken up. He had left the country for a while, and there was a lot of hard times and stuff like that. And she would still be very diligent in every little job she would start and take and stuff. And sometimes I would feel like she was doing too much for so little. But what that taught me was, again, like, regardless of what it is, if you're responsible for it, you have to make sure that you do it right. So I guess both of them kind of had, in different ways, taught me the same lesson about always making sure that you execute things. It's the same thing, kind of the same thing the Air Force preaches, actually. Excellence in all you do,
Yeah. How about kindness?
Who?
Kindness. What did your parents teach you about kindness?
Kindness. Oh, yeah. That is actually one of the biggest things we learned, because again, when my dad left, we kind of went through a very dark spell where, like, and we're living up north, and if you know Ghana, up north is basically in the country, really deep, kind of in the kind of environment you might see on CNN, kind of, not that much, but kind of, close enough. And, living in a mud hut, all that.
Okay.
But, while we're over there, one thing I noticed was there was never a time where anyone would go hungry. And there's a reason why. Like, it's coming back to that kindness thing. Regardless of what, it was something we called a compound house, right? And it was different families in there. But what would happen was, regardless of what was going on, whoever would cook just basically would cook for everybody. So even if this family is going through a hard time, for that time, they wouldn't feel it. You would not even know, because food-wise, they'll be good.
Yeah.
And living where they live and stuff like that. And another thing was my granddad's house also was, despite the fact that he wasn't like a rich man or anything, it was always open to anyone. And that always used to be weird to me when I was a kid. I didn't understand it. But then now, as an adult, when I went back to Ghana, there were a lot of these kids that helped me out in different parts of the country, like where I would do, I'll run into someone and I'm trying to look up for something. I run into one of these kids from back in the day. And I'll go, hey, what are you looking for? Da, da, da. And before I know it, and that is that kindness thing. That is the return of that kindness that my family paid them several years ago. And basically is to pay it forward with everything you do and not expect anything back, because regardless, kind of the world, the way that the world works, doing something kind has never been a bad thing.
Yeah.
And it's always improved everything. There's never been a time where someone was kind to somebody and it somehow deterred their character for being kind. It always made them the bigger person. It always made you, it's always a good thing to do, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Being kind has never hurt anyone.
Yeah.
That's such a great point. It is. I'm curious on discipline in terms of family and then military, how that maybe specifically translated into your writing and film creation.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, before the military, I actually used to think I was disciplined in the way that I would write, because I would have like 3 different things going on at the same time. And the fact that I felt I could kind of keep the same thought stream for all 3, I felt I was being very disciplined with that kind of work ethic. But after joining the military, I became more of a, you learn the thing of keeping to what is in front of you and doing the mission that is right, like that is essential right now. Do that right now. That kind of sense of urgency, it instilled that in me, like that I need to get things done. So when I start on something, I don't want to jump on another thing anymore. I need to I focus on it, and then I've realized it actually helps because it's able to let me focus everything on it, and I'm able to get through it in a more efficient manner than I used to when I used to have about 3 different projects in the works. Because I know you never get to finish any of those. Like, you just keep kind of going between projects all the time.
Wow. So how did you get into film?
Well, I've kind of always been into it, and it started with the writing, I always say. It started with me just writing, short stories, all these kinds of, and I wrote a few, manuscripts for books. And then it just kind of evolved into a place where I felt like I need to see these things that I'm coming up with, like these stories that I'm kind of, how do I don't know, bringing together and stuff. I just wanted to see them now. I wanted to bring it to life and make it real. And the natural progression basically led to filmmaking. And before I joined the military, I wanted to do that, but there was no way for me to be able to get funding, buy equipment, learn, actually, be able to take some classes and stuff like that. So I was like, well, while I'm in the military, that'll be what I'm going to do on this, as my school thing on the side. And then while I was in the military, I kind of actually was lucky. They had me do this dormitory kind of pseudo-documentary, kind of introducing new airmen to the base and stuff like that. And I really had fun editing that, and that was kind of where that really started going, And then in 2014, I took leave from the military and was like, I'm going to go do my first film. And I flew to Germany with my ex-wife, who was my fiancée at the time. And we kind of we went and shot this film and stuff, no script at all, just improvised.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And I was so convinced that I'm just going to go and shoot this thing because the idea was so clear in my mind. And I'm just going to go make it happen. But then while we were shooting, you realize, you've only been able to cover 10 minutes. All this cool stuff you came up with, that's only 10 minutes of a movie. So now you've wasted everybody's time. And, it's just kind of this is not happening. And in fact, but when it got done, there was, I haven't seen that movie actually since. It's just, I don't know where I didn't see any of the footage after that.
Oh, wow.
And that was that, and I just kind of gave up on it. I was like, I'm done. I don't think I'm going to do movies anymore. And I kind of focused in the military. And then in 2015, when I got out, again, I kind of had a little depressive spell and stuff like that. I was going through a divorce, all these kinds of things. And it just kind of came back again. You know, like I started kind of writing again, first again, short stories and stuff. And I was like, hey, why don't I make a short, like an actual short? And this is like by 2016. I was like, okay, so I made this short called This Line of Work. And that basically ended up going to some festivals, doing well. It was really weird. Like we shot it on a Saturday in the weekend, me and one of my friends. And it just kind of took a life of its own, kind of, you know, and just did its own thing. And that kind of made me want to do more. Like, okay, you know what? That's actually, I felt good. You know, let me get back into it. And cashed out my TSP, my thrift savings plan, and headed out to Ghana because I said I was going to go do my other film, my first feature film, which had its own hurdles, but we ended up making. So that's just kind of like basically how I got into making films for a living.
So where do your stories come from? What stories do you love to tell?
I think that at the core of it, I love to tell stories that deal with complicated people, because I myself I'm a complicated person, so I draw from that. I'm able to draw from that kind of because when you come from a background of several different cultures and stuff, not only there's a good side to it, and there's also a kind of a small what's it called? I wouldn't call it a negative, but it's just kind of a thing about it too, where because there's so few people who travel and all that kind of stuff, you kind of become weird. Like you're hard for people to understand, in a way, because you're kind of an amalgamation of so many different things. So to everybody, there'll always be something different about you wherever you go, which is something that I do have. You know, like even when I went back to Ghana recently, considering someone who was raised there and all that, I was still mostly like a foreigner to them, because now I speak like this. I don't have the Ghanaian accent anymore. So so basically there's no belonging really, you know. You kind of, but the positive is it makes you get to choose your home. You get to choose where you want to call home. But the other flip side of it is, you know, sometimes you're not accepted in certain places that you feel like you should be accepted in.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And your feature film that you shot in Ghana, was that with in Ghana, or was that like a U.S. film you went there to shoot? Like the basis of production for the film?
Oh, yeah, everything was in Ghana, like everything completely from the ground up.
Wow. Okay.
Because we had a producer before. What gave me confidence to fly out there in the first place was that there was a producer that was willing to basically bankroll us throughout the thing. But when I got over there, it was in there. You know, that was the election year for us too over here. So when I got over there, it was their election year too, and they were kind of going through that and all that. And I suppose his funds had something to do with whoever was in power or whatever. This is Africa, man. So
okay, the honesty. No. Okay.
Yeah, man. So he, I guess they lost, and he just kind of bounced, man.
Oh,
so
I see.
He vanished, and yeah, that kind of got me in a whole different way. Like I was having a breakdown because I had basically taken everything I had in the world
and put it into that.
Basically, and put it into this journey, and this guy had walked away.
How did you pull through that?
Man, in the beginning I spazzed, man. I went off, like, because, you know, I'm kind of like, I usually have mood swings and stuff like already. So like when these things happen, it takes me to the next level. Yeah. So I was so distraught and like, kind of like, yo, I'm done with this. I'm not gonna make movies anymore. I always do that, like, you know, with like, so, you know, but like but in the moment, I usually believe it. Honestly, like I was really done. Like it's like, yo, like this, I just can't deal with this kind of disappointment and pain, man. Like, but then now on this side of it, I now understand what other directors usually say when they say like, you gotta work the beat, man. You gotta go through the nose, like you gotta go through all those things, because if you don't, how are you going to be resilient enough to be confident when you walk into a room next time?
Oh,
you
so
know,
true.
and, you know, yeah. So that happened, and what did help me was I had a good support system, like my friend Miko, who ended up who he had a house. We ended up shooting at his house, and I was actually living at his house at this time. And one day I just got up and I said to him, I was like, yo, we have one resource that we really are not using. And he was like, what is it? And I was like, your house, man. I believe I can frame this house into a feature film. Like, I believe I can frame different parts of this house, and we can get a feature film out of it. And he was like, nah, man. He was like, nah, it's cool. I don't think we should do this. And I was like, all right, cool. And then like 3 days later, he came at me. He was like, yo, what you were saying? I don't know what hit him, but out of nowhere, he just came back to me excited as hell about it, and heck about it. He was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I want to do this. I want to, you're right. And we just used his house in his neighborhood and his DSLR camera that he had. We didn't even have a mic. And
wow, yeah.
Yeah, and because the script was so good, and all I had to do was cut out all the stuff that needed money, and so basically that script can still be shot as a completely different movie right now, if I'm being honest. Because we basically just kind of broke it down to the skeleton of the script and shot it with what we had. We used his car in a few shots. We went to his friend's bar. It was really guerrilla style.
Yeah.
And yeah, and through it all, there was a bunch of like stops. There was times when people were just like, yo, are we even gonna finish this? Because people are not getting paid and people are getting frustrated. They're like, we're not getting paid. So like no one is kind of wanting to
to complete it.
Put in, yeah, to deliver and stuff. It was so hard to get people together, and people are just kind of like lukewarm about what's going on. But we ended up, doing it and ended up cutting it together in a way that we were confident would do well in some festivals. And thankfully, that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. Wow. So it was completed and it got into a festival.
Oh yeah, it got into let me see, about 4 festivals, I think.
Wow.
5 actually, yeah, 5, and it was the Caribbean. Let me see, I have them over here actually. I'm gonna look at them real quick.
Sure.
Caribbean Lens International Film Festival 2017, which is actually here in California. And then Festival de Cotomejas. I don't know where that was in Pacas. That was in 2016. Geo Film Festival and Expo Cinema 2017. The Grand in the Wise Convention 2017. It was a selection. Then it was a semi-finalist for Lake International Pan-African Film Festival.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's great. Now,
yeah, man, but thanks.
The challenges that come with that. What?
Yeah.
So how was your transition then to LA? Because you're making films out in California, correct?
Yeah. Well, because I was originally stationed in Sacramento, Beale Air Force Base, that's where that is. It's close to Sacramento.
Right.
I always kind of had a route, a kind of network around here, in LA, but not film wise. Because it was people that I had worked with, like in the military and stuff, that I knew were out here, and people I had met in Germany and stuff, but not film wise. So there was really no way for me to come over here at that time. But with the festivals and stuff like that, once that went in, some networking, basically, like people start reaching out, hey, I want to let me see your next project whenever you're done with it. Or someone is like, hey, what are you working on? And sometimes, and actually in the beginning, a lot of it was I was working on a horror movie at the time. And a lot of people were not they wanted like something else. They're like, hey, everybody's doing horror, so when you have something else, let me know. So I kind of went on and did another kind of guerrilla style movie after that. But we'll come to that eventually. But like once that was going on, then the Amazon and then distribution happened. Because once distribution starts happening, then you kind of get into a different place. Like people are really seeing you on a completely different platform now. And it kind of comes with a certain, I would say, strength or confidence for you to walk into a pitch meeting or something. Just say, hey, so I did this, that. My film is on this platform, and if it's a respectable platform, they kind of start listening a little closer. Like, oh, okay, if this stuff is good enough to get on that platform, then we want to pay attention. And that is kind of what has led to that transition to this place.
Right. Now, did you have to pitch to get it on Amazon?
No. What happened was after I don't remember which festival it was, but I want to believe it was the Caribbean Lens International Film Festival, I think. The film wasn't able to screen because I wasn't able to give them the DCP in time. But there was a networking event going on that day, and I met up with a guy over there. I can't say his name, but
Okay.
so I met him there, and he basically, I met, and he was saying, he was talking to me about what we were thinking of, like in an email actually later on, like an email was like, hey, if you're thinking about getting on Amazon, or Netflix, let's talk, And I said, well, I was actually very interested in the Netflix thing. So, because it's Netflix. Who doesn't want to be on Netflix?
Right.
So I was like, yeah. And this Netflix thing actually happened. This is before I left for the film. So that network was there already. Like this from the script perspective, right? So So when the film was actually done, that was when he basically was asking me about it at the festival. So I want to get it right because I don't want it to get misconstrued. But yeah,
Right.
So before we were like, so what happened to it? What happened to the film? Da 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 da. And I was like, yeah, I got it and all that. And then he set up a meeting for me in Germany with someone, and I flew out there in March, and things were looking good and stuff like that. But then it seemed like we had to. I needed to pay this guy. He wanted me to pay him something.
Okay.
It became a thing of where we needed to pay some kind of commission or whatever to get this in there. And I was like, even though the deal on the other side was nice, but I was kind of not feeling that. But then the Amazon thing also came where it's just Amazon Video Direct was doing this thing where they were really opening up to indie filmmakers, where they wanted to give you a direct platform. They did this for a very short time, I think last year or something, 2 years ago, for like the last 3 years or something, but they closed it down this year, where you could submit stuff directly to them, pitch it, like it was very open. Like they were really doing town hall style, like openness with filmmakers.
Okay.
And that's basically how I got that tip from the guy, and I got a link on where it would he's like, hey, go up here and get on this platform and sign up and put your film there. Let's see what's up.
The insider information.
So basically, yeah. Yeah. So I go up there and I do it, and within 3 hours, I got hey, welcome to the Amazon Video Direct, da 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 da. And I was very happy, and I had basically the platform basically opens up to you kind of like in a YouTube fashion,
Wow.
where you just kind of upload your thing in there, and then they give you the guidelines on how to make it match up to the standard stuff. It's a very, very helpful tool for to me actually. For me, it's a great way for indie filmmakers to get. Well, it was a great opportunity for indie filmmakers to be able to get their stuff out there and give them a platform where they can actually continually put up content now, like once they're locked in on that, So, and it goes directly to, if it qualifies, it goes directly to Prime, which becomes part of the Prime catalog. So it's like, for me, that was a better deal than the other one, because if this had longevity, this would go on for as long as they can.
Yeah.
And the other one was only 5 years. So I was like, okay, I'll take that. Even though this was a slow burn, at the end of the day, it's always good to, to have the last laugh. I believe in that. So I went with that.
Now the film that you submitted to the Caribbean Film Festival that got you in contact with the insider information, that film in itself, did you raise the money on your own to create that?
No, that was just that was the same. That's the Northern King. That's the one that we're not able to raise any money. We just kind of winged it.
Oh, that was the one. Okay, that's the one you did with your friend. Oh my goodness.
That's
oh,
the one
okay.
I did with my friends. Yeah, the other one. That's what I said. The other one, we'll get to that. That was on the flip side of all of this.
Okay, so I guess that's probably where we're headed next then.
Yeah. So once that got going, I got confidence to start my next one, which is Slumber Party, which was it is a horror film. Right now, actually, it's being looked at by a Hollywood studio that I can't say who it is, but they're looking at it to see if we could get distribution from them. So we're kind of fingers crossed, excited, hoping that happens. But that story also, we just kind of got into it, and Miko, again, a friend of another, that friend of mine that I was telling you about, the one that I was living with, he basically, he facilitates a lot, and he knows a lot of people, so he basically hit up one of his friends who had owned a radio station, and the guy had a bunch of high-end camera equipment,
Right.
And I went to Germany and talked to did a few investor talks and stuff, and was able to get a little bit from a friend of ours over there called Gunnar. He was able to also invest in it. He invested a little bit in it. So between that and a friend, we basically went in, and also the little bit that came from the theatrical release of The Northern King. We were able to release it in theaters in Ghana, actually, that film that I did with my friend.
Right.
So from a little bit of that, we kind of went into Slumber Party, and it did have better production values and stuff like that. And I ended up really it was a very interesting shoot, because it's not, for me, it's not a fun memory, because during that time I ended up losing my daughter, so it just kind of killed because it was kind of like a party film and stuff like that. And when you're directing a film and you go through such a loss, there's a certain energy you have to bring to certain types of films,
Of course.
And when that is gone, it's just kind of but we ended up finishing it, and basically it's doing what we're trying to market it, right? We're kind of shopping it right now for distribution.
So,
but yeah.
Now, curious about your pitch meetings and shopping film content. What have you learned maybe about yourself as you go into these meetings, or have you learned about human nature and interaction?
Yeah. So basically, what I've learned from that whole experience is about myself. Basically, is I was too hard on myself initially when I first got into kind of film, and when I first started thinking about what that whole process is like, And so my first few pitches, I was very tense, and it's kind of rushing through it, because I just felt the pressure and stuff like that. And this executive I pitched to, Adam Horner, he said, hey man, relax, it's fine. And then he was more, he just he let you understand that, they're just people too on the other side, and they really just want to hear this idea that you have.
Right.
And if it's cool, they're probably going to help you out with it. So this is a really cool thing. So you shouldn't be stressed.
Right.
This is a good thing. So don't be stressed about it. Just, be excited. Bring that excitement out. That is what they want to see. They want to see the passion. They want to see that you want to see that what you're talking about. They want to see that every little inch of that world that you've built, that you want to convince them to help you bring to life,
Right.
And through that, it's been really a really learned experience, and I've learned from each and every one. Each pitch that I've done, I've learned something from it. Even the ones that, especially the ones that I don't get, because sometimes just listen to the reason why you don't get it, you realize it's just something really small. It's really nothing that can't be fixed. And that gives you a lot of confidence that you're like, okay, I can, I could get that done, and then pitch it again to another person with that in mind. And then if you do that, sometimes you realize you start getting positive, just based on the feedback that you get from the ones that you were not able to score, And sometimes you actually create relationships with people who pass on your work, because they might pass on your work, but not on you. You see, because you forget as someone who makes this stuff that when they listen to an idea that you have and they feel like, okay, maybe not that one, they're like, but this guy might have some other stuff that I might like because of the way that, just from the way the person is talking, you feel like, yo, he might have something that I like. The way his mind works, he might have something else. So you kind of keep in contact with them and stuff like this. That's kind of how this movie, this distribution thing I'm talking about came about. I did a pitch for someone, and he loves the concept and everything, but he said it's kind of a little bit on the lower end for him. So he couldn't, because he kind of like, can you believe that? Like, that's actually a thing. Like, it was too cheap for him to make.
Oh.
You know, it was a great idea, but it was just too cheap. Like, it needed, like, it's not a big enough movie, you know? So I was like, okay. So I ended up talking to him later on. We ended up linking up, like, about a week later on LinkedIn. And he came into my suggestions and stuff because, you know, once you email people, I kind of, this whole algorithm thing, you know, so I added him and he accepted. So that was a good sign. Like, oh, okay. Because, you know, mostly that would be because when you add the person, sometimes the executives don't want to, because they know they passed on your work. So it could be that they don't want to be harassed, because that actually happens. Sometimes they can get harassed by, you know, there's a darker side to some filmmakers and stuff like, you know, hey, I want you to look at my work. Like, why did you say no? You know, that kind of thing.
Oh, jeez.
So I really was hoping, you know, like trying to be like, hey, okay, so I'm going to fix it for, you know, so I was really hoping he wouldn't feel like that was what was going on, you know.
Right.
And he didn't, you know, he just kind of accepted. And then I emailed him and said, hey, I took a look at your feedback and I'm very happy about this and that. And he gave me a lot of information and, you know, talked to me about some other stuff. And then that whole conversation ended up leading to, hey, you know, send me the film. I'm going to take a look at it. You know, and he's a distributor, you know, and if he likes it, he will do what he will make sure it gets seen, because that's what he's in. He's in it to sell things that can be sold.
Of course.
You know, so
yeah.
So, you know, so basically, so, and that came from a pass, you know, on a pitch, you know, so it's a very interesting world that I'm learning that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you pitched a script, or has it always been like finished products or like video?
No, I have.
content?
What I'm working on right now, I pitched as a script. What I'm casting right now.
Okay.
That was something that came from a pitch meeting.
So you go in, and I'm kind of curious for the listeners, if you can kind of walk us through, maybe, you know, without, I don't want to make you like have to go out into dire length on this, but what's the walkthrough with pitching a script?
First of all, it's all about, you first have to be able to get on whoever you're trying to pitch to, like that executive schedule.
Right.
You know, and, you know, it's you got to go through agents and different kind of, you know, you have to go through different channels and stuff. But eventually, if you're able to get on the schedule, usually there's a lot of emailing involved.
Right.
Where, you know, you get an email and you have to wait. Like, it's crazy how many wait times. So what I did in the first half of the year was to just reach out all year. I just reaching out on email and stuff. And this half now, I have a whole bunch of meetings. I ended up getting a whole bunch of meetings from June, the whole month of June up to now. It was like a whole bunch of stacked up, because all of them had, you know, like from the first hour, that's how long ago I had put in to try and get these meetings. And some of them were over Skype, actually. Not a lot of them were actually in person. A lot of them were kind of like this, like on the phone, on Skype, which is usually the best. Yeah, because they're very busy people, and they you know, maybe every now and then someone might be able to have coffee, but that's usually like if they're already around where you are.
Yeah,
you know,
it's rare.
Like, right, it's really rare. Like, if, you know, let's say you're supposed to have a meeting at 3 o'clock and it's like 2:30, then he'd hit like, and they hit you up like, hey, where are you actually? And you're like, yeah, I'm in Santa Monica. It's like, okay, I'm actually in Santa Monica right now. Do you want to meet up? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the only time this kind of happens. But normally, it's just straight up to the phone or Skype. And then after that, a lot of emailing. And then if the emailing leads to something, then you get to have a meeting. So that's kind of how it goes. You get on the schedule, and then when the day comes, you get connected with the person. And usually it's through a third party, because they never want to, like, it's a safety thing for both parties. No one wants to. They never give you their direct email, and they never get your direct email, and you never get theirs. Like, it's always through a third party. So for right now, where I am in my career, that's where it is. There's some levels where it's a direct thing where they just kind of walk into the studio and, and talk to people.
Yeah.
But, like Spielberg and stuff like that. But for me right now, yeah, it's usually like through third parties. So yeah, they at first, you send in kind of your what they call your log line and your synopsis, like kind of like it's kind of a snapshot of what the project's about.
I see. Like with a budget
so when
quote
they see that,
as well?
Not yet. The first one, because it's not solicited. That's information that they have to ask for.
Okay.
Like that, if you send it without someone asking for it, it's unsolicited. So sometimes they don't even open it just because of some legal. And I've been learning that now. Like, it's not like people are mean, that they don't want to listen to people. It's just they can't legally tie themselves to, because the second they open that thing, even if they don't respond to you, 20 years from now, a year from now, if they make a movie or whatever that kind of seems similar to yours, you sue them, and then you're able to prove they opened that email.
Oh, I see.
You see, so they don't. Yeah, so if they did not ask for it, normally they don't even open it. They just kind of either let it go to spam or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say when you send this stuff, just make sure it's always start off with just like just a little synopsis. That's it. It's not like but that one, that usually, actually, I think that what people have just asked for is a title, to be honest.
Oh,
That's
really?
usually what I've had to input. Yeah, it's just a title and the person. Then they just kind of listen to what you have, kind of spontaneously. Okay, what does he have? But what does is, because of the amount of time in between your appointments, you have to know that, like, they probably kind of look into you a little bit before they talk to you.
Of course.
They'll probably look, online or whatever. They'll kind of check you out a little bit before they get into a meeting with you. And then on the meeting day, you go in, and it's very straightforward. It's not really, because there's always a finite amount of time you have.
Yeah.
That's another thing. They can tell you, say, hey, I only have 3 minutes, or I only have 8 minutes, or I only have 10 minutes, depending on what it is that they want to accomplish in that meeting. So when they sit down, they just introduce themselves. It's not like they're being, like they're rude or something, but like they gotta get to it. Because you gotta understand that you are not the only person they're listening to that day. They're listening to a whole lot of different people. That's their job. Their job is to do this and find projects to buy.
Yeah.
So
literally.
So like that's the thing. So I think that sometimes you walk in thinking that maybe you're coming in with like something that you've never heard before, something like, you gotta get all that out of your mind, even if it's an idea even if it's a very unique idea, it's good. Like, let them tell you that.
Right.
Or be able to or let them tell you that, or you should be able to how do you call it? You should be able to show them how that is unique. If you're gonna say it is, you should be able to prove it and demonstrate why. If you're gonna actually add that to your pitch, then you should also have the reason in the pitch. Like, hey, if you're gonna say, okay, I think I have a very unique idea that no one has seen before. Well, you gotta let them know why. Why do you think that?
Right.
Why do you feel like this is an idea no one has seen before? And then you get them into it and stuff like that. And it's not also a thing where a lot of people think, and I used to think, that you have to tell the people, like, them the entire movie.
Not the case.
Like A to Z, No, you're gonna lose people fast. Because think about it. Like, if you're actually gonna narrate a movie, you're gonna lose them because they're boring parts in the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, what they want is just get straight to it. Like, okay, like, let me use what I'm about to shoot, Slumber Party as an example. If you're gonna pitch Slumber Party, or you just have to. What they want to know is a group of college kids decide to host a party for their graduation. So they have to host a graduation party. A mysterious killer starts taking them out one by one. So now he's going to ask you, okay, why? You see, that's kind of how you could go about it. Like, why did the person start doing that?
Right.
You know, what's the motivation? How did this all happen? Then you say, well, this, and that. You know, this, because you have to know basically the whole picture is for them to know that you actually know the story you're telling.
Yeah.
Every plot hole, everything that they can throw at you, you know, you have an answer for it. Like you've thought about it in advance. And also, of course, you got to think on your feet. If it's something you haven't thought about, you better come up with something.
Quickly.
You better come up with something quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a pretty fun thing. And then after that, they'll tell you hear from them in about a month. And it's true. Like, they stay true to that. Like, it takes about a month for you to hear anything back. And it's either, you know, and when they do take time to let you know why they want to see more or why they're passing on it, you know. And when they say they want to see more, they basically ask you for your script. Then you send that in, and that can take months for them to, like, get back to you. Actually, there's actually one, the movie I'm casting for right now, there's an executive that is actually still thinking about it, about whether or not he wants to help make it as of now. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
that's just kind of how it keeps going. So, like, that's why sometimes you could hear someone is attached to something, and then in about 2 weeks, you're like, actually, this other person is the one doing it. Because, like, in a month, if he comes up and he's like, hey, I think we are ready to go. I think I can let you guys, I can executive produce this, and we can shoot it in the time that you want to shoot. Suddenly, that's who's executive producing the movie. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But at all times, you, the artist, you, the filmmaker, you got to keep doing your part also. Just got to keep working on it. Don't ever, like, there's never, once you pitch it, you don't chill and relax inside, I'm waiting. Nah. Well, even though I'm pitching, I'm also doing pre-production, because the more you have done, the more it looks like you actually want to do this, and you've actually put a lot into it already. You know, there has to be that trail of, you know, work, and to show that you're working. This person is actually actively working on this. And also, sometimes it should have the feel of, with or without you, I'm going to end up doing this thing anyway.
Yeah.
You know, they should have that in there. Like, they should feel like that about you. That, hey, man, like, this guy is really going to do this thing no matter what. So maybe it'll be good for, he would really love if you would help him, but he's still going to power on ahead anyway, you know.
I see. So it's like, with or without you, I'm making it. Would you like to be a part of it?
Basically.
So just curious, do you have any recommended books or resources on, like, pitching, pre-production, creating a budget, film in general?
Yeah. Well, one, and that's a book that I kind of accidentally, someone left it in the plane
Oh, no way.
a few years back. Yeah. It's called Film After Film, and it's written by a person called Jay Haberman. I never went in to see whether it was a man or a woman, so I don't know if it's a guy or girl. But yeah, like he's basically worked on you know, a lot of different movies, and I only read like the first about 20 pages because of my very short flight, and I didn't want to take it with me, so I left it there. But it stuck with me since.
Wow.
You know, it's called Film After Film, and just the small insight I started seeing, you know, in just reading it, talking about kind of like the post 9/11 age, basically the post digital age, basically, you know, like of filmmaking, and kind of some predictions that it was making about where film is going. And this is in 2013, I think I read it. So a lot of the things that I was seeing in it are actually like, that's actually where things are right now, basically. The way that it was looking at where digital was going to go, streaming, all these kinds of things. But the art of actual filmmaking, like, it started off with that. Like, that's where I learned a lot about a lot of different things.
Wow.
In just like 20 pages. Like, it's a really good book. It's called Film After Film.
Yeah, I wrote that down, definitely. Do you have any favorite films, like, or screenplays or documentaries that you really enjoy, think were done well?
Yeah, man. Like, I'm one of those, like, you know, I have a lot of I usually somehow I kind of I end up liking a lot of works by people that maybe a lot of people who kind of have detractors, not like on purpose. It's just for some reason I like that stuff. Like one of my favorite directors is Zack Snyder, for example.
Okay.
And his films, they like I feel like like when you look at it as a film, like from a film perspective, like this man he knows film, and the way that he uses very classical film techniques in otherwise kind of a weird, kind of an unrealistic world that some of his movies are taking place, like like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, which I know a lot of people have a lot to say about.
Yeah.
And but like for me looking at it, I was like, this is a classic. There's classical things happening, but like maybe people don't want to see that in that genre. And I was like, if he applied this to that story, that BVS story, if it was a story that same thing that just took place between, think about it, if it was just something that took place between an African American moving into an all white neighborhood, and the other, one of the cops in the neighborhood doesn't like him, and I'm taking him down because I don't trust him. Kind of like where Batman was coming from. It's like you realize, oh well, we are going to some really interesting places right now. Or even if it's like someone of Hispanic descent going into a neighborhood where people are like, hey, we don't want to see you, and yet this person is probably like a good person, trying to do good, helping people out, saving people, all these kinds of stuff. But they're still like, yeah, man, like we don't want you here, like. You're weird.
Yeah, you're different.
These kinds of things.
We don't want
different. Yeah, you're different, And for me, I think he touches on, I guess maybe it's because I'm an immigrant. I understand where these, the way he portrays these kind of like characters and stuff. Like I kind of relate to these characters. But another film I really love is The Dark Knight, which I think that one everyone agrees on.
Yeah.
By Christopher Nolan. Like that's another really well-made film that every time I think about filmmaking, that's another one I go to. And then there's Fight Club.
Yeah. By
David Fincher. Really good one. And then there's a really unknown, lesser known Robin Williams film called What Dreams May Come. I don't know if people saw that, but it seemed like it was very low-key and stuff, but I really love it. It's a very surreal kind of meta kind of storytelling about life and death.
Yeah.
Really, really, really beautiful movie.
The Dark Knight. What did you love about it? What, in your opinion, made it such a great film?
Basically, it's the way that he took a character like, well, I've been reading comics since I was a kid, and well, not since I was a kid, but since this was like in my teens.
Okay.
And for me, Batman has always been that, like, basically what Chris Nolan attempted to do did very successfully, was to show that this can actually happen, and a character like Batman can happen in real life, and a character like the Joker that they had in there can also happen, because they seem so like. These people, like Joker, he just seemed like a crazy dude, like you would see on the street. It's just he's all dressed up, and and he's clean, but like he's so crazy, Right. So it's like if one of those guys like had goons and stuff, and he's just allowed to do whatever he wants. Like, he puts people's faces in pens and stuff. Like he just does a lot of off the cuff stuff, and this guy is really, really nuts. Like you can't reason with this person, And then you have Batman, who is order. He wants order, and he wants to bring justice and everything into Gotham, trying to clean up Gotham City. And so you juxtapose those two, and you realize, like what he said, they're gonna keep doing this forever. Because of where it goes, and I think that's the lesson of it. And that, for me, that was the thing of it, and why Batman ended up running away at the end of the movie is that he's realizing I have to shift the focus on me, because this guy is he's gonna be in jail, but it's only a matter of time before he comes back out. But if you're able to use this opportunity to make a certain law, you that could actually prevent people like that from escaping and just kind of like locking them, clean up the streets, that would work. And it did work, of course, but until 8 years later when Bane showed up. But it ended up working because like that was the only way they could do it. They had to lie, like he actually had to corrupt the very thing he's always fighting for. You have to corrupt the very fabric of that justice system that he's always fighting to uphold, with this big lie to end up to basically get what he wanted. But that showed him that doesn't last. Someone always has to be fighting. And I think that's a lesson we learn in The Dark Knight Rises later on. It's just like, whatever you do, someone has to keep fighting. Because however you go, it just has to keep happening.
Yeah, it does. It does. It absolutely does. And do you live by or have any like texts you refer to daily or quotes that you live by or like phrases or mantras?
Yeah, I actually just recently developed my new mantra, which is, we'll see how it goes, or we'll see. Because I had there's a history of that. About a year and a half ago, like I was in a completely different space, while just trying to talk to Amazon, try to, get things together for my second film and all these kinds of things. And I had the habit of getting excited about things just off of the possibility of it happening.
Yeah.
Like someone would say, hey, let me see your script or something. And I get excited. Like, oh, I'm very excited. This is gonna and then it would not prepare you for the no or the okay, I'm not even gonna respond to this person. None of that. Like you don't. So you take it, you internalize it, and you're thinking all these kinds of things. And that is because you spent so much time creating a future that no one told you was gonna happen.
Right.
And you got infatuated with it, and now you realize it's not gonna happen. But like your mind has become used to that idea of it happening. That now it's almost as if you're actually losing something. But if you really think about it, you didn't lose anything. That's why I had to think about it for myself. Like I had to tell myself that, hey man, you didn't lose anything. At the end of the day, like look at things that are in front of you. Take things step at a time. And I had to go through a lot, with my daughter and stuff like that. But on the other side of it, I just came out realizing patience is basically virtue, really. Patience truly is virtue because I just had to take things as they came. Like, if someone, like with these pitches and stuff like that, I'll do a pitch and not really expect anything to come out of it, Like, yeah, it'll be nice if things come out. I do have kind of an idea what or where I want to go with it if something good comes out of it. But I'm also looking to the next pitch with excitement now, I have that to be excited about. I don't allow expectations to tie me down. Basically, I live within the now. Basically, I live in the moment. That's basically my what I do now. That's my mantra.
Now that's a good one, to live in the moment. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're bringing up a good point about how excited we can get when we hear something. It's like, oh, maybe I'll take a look at that, and it's like as good as a yes, and it's like it's nothing. Yeah.
Right. It's nothing at all. Like, sometimes it's not even true. Sometimes they're just saying that to get rid of you. And you get all excited about it.
Well, geez, thank you for talking about all of this with me. This is like such a plethora of knowledge in terms of film and life.
Oh, I'm really happy I was able to come on, man. Like this, I should come back on this. I liked our interaction.
Yeah, yeah. I have a feeling we could probably do a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in terms of film.
Yeah,
just
I'm down
alone.
for that. I'm down for part 2. Yeah, I'm definitely down for that.
Well, where can we find you?
I'm mostly active on Instagram and Twitter at MG EMJEED. That's usually where anyone can find me. And when you find me on there, you'll be able to see all my other stuff. I'm also on IMDb under M.Sayibu if you want to check out some of my other works and what's coming. It is just M.Sayibu, like with I think it's going to be in the title of the show, right?
Yeah.
So if you just search that name, if you Google it, almost everything I've done usually pops up when you Google it.
Yeah, it's all there on IMDb. I'll have links to all of this in the show notes.
Awesome.
Well, M.Sayibu, thank you for sitting down with me and chatting. I really appreciate taking the time talking over the phone here.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for reaching out. And, yeah, let's definitely do this again.
100%. Ladies and gentlemen, M.Sayibu.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.